When to leave, what to wear, how long will it take me to get there, will the Uber refuse me? If you're planning to take an Uber to the hospital to have your baby, then this video is for you. Hi there, my name is Melissa, and this channel is dedicated to sharing the knowledge that I have acquired on my motherhood journey with you, from what the researchers and doctors are saying to things that I have uncovered that worked for me and my baby that may work for you. So let's get into it and talk about two main things. The first will be when and why you may want to use an Uber to get to the hospital, and two, the tips that I have to get to the hospital in an Uber without having an Uber baby. So getting to the hospital in an Uber is actually pretty simple, and it's really not difficult or hard once you've done your prep work. So what do I mean by prep work? The first thing is letting your doctor know your situation. So just be straight with them, be blunt, be like, hey, I don't have a car, I don't really want to call an ambulance, should I use an Uber? Or you may not even have to tell them that you don't want to call an ambulance. Just tell them your situation. You don't have a car, and just ask them for this, suggestions and what they think about that. So for me, in my case, my doctor recommended that I take Uber. The reason being is he was affiliated with a specific hospital, so I'm not sure if this works the same way for all doctors, all OBs, or if it was just mine, or a specific, I don't know. But in my case, I told my doctor, well, hey, I don't have a car. Should I call an ambulance? He actually recommended against using an ambulance. So if you didn't know, not all ambulances take you to the hospital that you want to go to. So most private ambulance will, hands down. However, the public ones may not. The reason being is that some ambulances can only go to specific zones. So only the zones that they have clearings for that they can go to. So, and your hospital may not be a part of that zone. So imagine you're already in labor, and now you're going to be frustrated because you're now at a hospital that you didn't intend on going. So talk to your doctor, hear what he or she has to say about that. And then you'll know, okay, I'm going to be giving birth on X day, or whenever I give birth, and this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be taking an Uber to the hospital, and just go from there. Also, be monitoring your contractions at home, and you definitely will want to labor at home as long as possible. You have more freedom to move about, and you're more comfortable at home. So how would you actually know when to leave to get to the hospital, especially if you're planning to take an Uber, if you don't talk to your doctor? That's key. That's so vital. Like, I can't stress this enough. So the reason being is that how will you know when to actually leave home to get to the hospital in a decent time without freaking your Uber driver out, or without having your baby in that Uber? So, and do not be freaked out if your doctor say, oh, just leave like 10 minutes when you're having 10-minute contractions 10 minutes apart. So he will know, okay, you will live in this area, of course. You'll tell him where you live, or her. My doctor is Malissa. I'm gonna keep referring to the doctor as him because I love him. So anyway, just tell him where you live. He likely will already know that, especially if you have a good relationship. And he will assess how long it's gonna take you to get to the hospital. So he's going to tell you, hey, your doctor is going to tell you, hey, leave when you're having contractions at this amount of time for these number of seconds apart. For me, it was leave when I'm having contractions 10 minutes apart, lasting a couple seconds. I can't remember right now, but it was something like that. And I was still able to get to the hospital in decent time without freaking my Uber driver out, and without having the baby in the Uber. That is so key. So it all comes back to having that conversation with your doctor. Doing the prep work also includes things like running some test scenarios. So maybe this is just me and my thinking, but it's so key to test out different scenarios. So what I mean by this is that, okay, your doctor said you're going to be giving birth at this particular hospital that he is affiliated with. You live in this particular area. So now you're going to take an Uber to the hospital at different times. So for me, I took an Uber when it was peak time, with rush hour. So I was like in the morning when everyone's trying to get to work. And then I timed it to see how long, and I literally timed it. And I didn't time it from the moment I got into the Uber. You need to time it from the time you call the Uber. So when you have your clothes on, you press that timer on your phone, you call the Uber, you get in, you get to the hospital, then you can stop the timer and see how long it takes you during that peak time, because you have no idea when you're actually going to go into labor. Then I did an off peak time, which was about I think it was between like the midday and before the afternoon rush hour. And that's, I did the same timing. For me, it was easy to do the timing because I needed to get to the hospital to do my scans. So I would have my regular doctor visits at his office, but then I would have to go to get that. I think it was the 16-week scan and the 28th scan. I can't recall off the top of my head right now what are those scans called. But those were the very granular detailed scan where they count all the fingers and the toes and they check everything that's going on. Like it was like those, a sonogram, that's what it's called. So it's that hour and a half long sonogram where they check everything. So for me it was easier to time it because I tied my timing into that. And it's important to have these conversations early. So for me, I had these conversations very early with my doctor, so I knew, okay, we're going to be using the Uber. So when I go for my 16-week scan, do a time. When I go for my 28th-week scan, do a timing. When I went for my, I think it was my 32 weeks or my 33-week scan, do a time as well. So you get to see. And again, in order for you to do these timings on these the peak or the off peak time or whenever you want to do it, you need to ensure you have an appointment for that specific time. So for my 16-week scan, I said, okay, let's do a 9 a.m. So I knew that was going to be a peak time when everyone was trying to get to work before 9 a.m. And then I think from my 30 something week scan, I did an off peak time. For my 28-week scan, I probably did a next peak time in the afternoon just to see how long it will take me, so I'll know, okay, when my contractions are, my doctor said, okay, when your contractions are 10 minutes apart, it's going to take you 30 minutes to get to the hospital. But I know from my scenarios, I know that's only going to work if it's an off peak time, because when I did all of my test scenarios, I knew that peak time takes me at least 40 minutes to get there. Now, lucky for me, however, I went into probably full labor, I would say, around 3 or 4 in the morning. So it took me 15 minutes to get to the hospital, but this might not be the case for everyone. So definitely ensure you have some test cases and scenarios to run. Do the best case, the worst case, the most likely case, and that really helps you to gauge, so that when you're in labor too, you wouldn't be too frustrated, you wouldn't be freaking the Uber driver out and all of that. We have now talked about the prep work that goes into taking Uber to the hospital. So now let's get into the tips of actually getting to the hospital when you're in that Uber. So the first tip I have for you is ensure you have either a thick pad or it depends on the wear. Now, it is so important. Please, please, please make sure you have this on when you're going to the hospital in an Uber. You bleed a lot when you're in labor. Now, I don't know if this is my first baby. I probably should have said that at the beginning of this video. So I don't know if this is the case for everyone, or if this just happened to me, or if it happens only when your water breaks. So I did think my water broke, but I didn't realize until I got to the hospital when everyone was asking me, when did your water break? I had no idea. I think I have some recollection when that happened, but I really can't say. So anyway, it's really important that you wear a depends on the wear or a thick pad. Reason being, you bleed a lot, and you do not want to be, gushing down there in the Uber, being all, all dirty and gross, and then having to pay that fee to clean the Uber, and then explaining to the Uber driver that you're in labor. Like, that is just too much going on. You really just want to focus on getting from your home to the hospital safe and sound without having any other hiccups in between. So definitely ensure that you wear that piece of clothing. Tip number 2, ensure you wear loose clothing. So when you get to the triage area, you're gonna have to undress on your own. Now, I don't know if this is because I had given birth during the pandemic, but my husband wasn't allowed to come into the triage area with me immediately. When I was seen in triage, it was just myself and the doctor or the nurse, and I was given the gown to change into, and then she exited the room, so it was just myself. And you do not want to be stressed out trying to bend to pull jeans off and stuff like that, because you're gonna be in so much of pain. You just want the pain to stop. So just wear something really loose that you can maybe just zip it down and throw it off, and then just pull on the gown. For me, I wore a very loose fitting maternity dress that I just had to undo a couple of buttons at the top, slip it off, and I put the hospital gown over, and that was it. So loose clothing is definitely my second tip. You're just going to be so much in pain and uncomfortable. You're just going to want it all to be, over. So definitely loose clothing. My third tip, and I think this is the most important tip, please keep calm in the Uber. So this actually comes back to what I spoke about in the beginning of speaking to your doctor as to when to leave. So you need to know, and also doing the test scenarios. So you need to know when to leave in a decent time so you would not freak your Uber driver out. Now, Uber drivers are not replacements for emergency services, so they're not trained to be driving in stressful environments. They're not trained as medical staff, as medical employees, or a medical profession. So you need to remain calm and collected in the Uber when you're getting there. My Uber driver did not know I was in labor until the very end, when as he was pulling up to the hospital, he was like, "Are you in labor, ma'am?" And my husband was like, "Yes." And he was so nice. He's like, "Oh my gosh, congratulations." He was so nice. Give us some hand sanitizers. Really nice. But you need to keep calm and collected, because every Uber driver is different, and everyone will not respond to pressures or a stressful circumstance in the same way. And again, the goal is to get from home to the hospital in one piece, safe and sound. So try not to be too hysterical, and it comes back to being able to leave home in a decent time. My fourth tip is actually ensuring that you have someone to go in the Uber with you, whether it's your spouse, your partner, your mom, your dad, whomever it is. Just have someone that can go in the Uber with you. That helps a lot, and someone who can keep calm as well. My husband was so calm during the entire ride. He held my hand. He let me squeeze his hand, because God knows I was squeezing his hand so tight from all that pain. He was rubbing my back, and it's important to sip water. So he was always like handing me a bottle of water to get a couple of sips in. So you need to have someone there, some support person who is gonna keep calm, because I think that vibe rubs off. So like, if you have someone who's keeping calm, you in turn gonna be calmer. If you have someone who's hysterical, you're gonna be hysterical. So you definitely need someone. It's not just to keep yourself calm, but you need someone there, when you're getting out of the Uber, when you get to take the bags up to the hospital, the triage area. You just need to have some support person there with you. I think this probably goes without saying, but I really want to say this. I'm not saying you should get into an Uber first in an ambulance. You decide what's best for you. This was just my experience and what works for me. I'm not saying to boycott the ambulance. I'm not saying that you should not get in the ambulance. Please understand that an Uber driver is not a replacement for any emergency medical services. And if you feel something is wrong, if you feel something is not right, you need to call 911. They are trained medical professions. not Uber drivers. So in my in my labor and delivery, in my entire, case, I didn't have anything like really go wrong, anything that I thought was wrong. I just knew I was in labor and I knew I had to get to the hospital. I knew, okay, I did all of this prep work, so I know when I needed to leave. I knew all of that. So for me, it wasn't a major shocker or major big decision. Oh my God, something is wrong. I need to get to the hospital. These were all things that I was prepared for and that I knew beforehand. But if you feel there is something that is wrong, something that needs to be addressed, then you definitely need to call 911 for medical emergency and services. Now, if you liked this video, please do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.